Hi, VIPs. I'm here before we open. This is an insider view, only from my fondest friends, of what we look like before we open. These are the raffle prizes for Independent Bookstore Day, Saturday. Come in. I really want you to win. But I wanted to go over, our bestsellers from Champagne and Daffodils. Y'all had a special time for VIPs to come at noon, and a lot of you were there. But in case you weren't, I'd love to include our list, but also give you a Sandy version of what we loved. One of the things that I talked about is a nonfiction, and I liked it so much that we're going to start a Women in Europe themed book club. First one is to discuss this book on June 6th. Shelley Wildman will be leading it, who leads walking tours of Europe. So loved that one. It is an American who started a cooking school in Paris, of all things. And it's her story. And it's not just a story of how delightful food and wine and life is in Paris. It's much, much more. It talks about what it's really like to make friends with the French, to date in the world of France, and most interestingly, the nitty-gritty of running a business, which is just fascinating. I loved it. I talked a lot about Laura Dave, who is sort of my go-to literary, I guess you could call it literary romance. Her books are short, that's why I showed you. And they're just contemporary, strong women that you would like to know in different phases of their life. So she's been writing for a long time. And this is one of my favorites. There's 800 grapes in a bottle of wine. And in this case, our hero, after a bad breakup, thinks she's going home to the family vineyard, which is stable. And it turns out there's a lot going on. So all of Laura Dave's books are very moderate in length, but really appealing. And they end satisfactorily. And so even though they're well written, you can count on that, which we want sometimes. I also talked about fun fiction, The Garnet Girls, which I talked about being much more than this beachy cover. We have three daughters and the mother, Garnet, who were raised really, dad left when the youngest was 4. And it's a story of an extremely spirited family. And one thing that I mentioned that I really got out of this seemingly just a beach read was they have big personalities, and yet they always resolve and come back together. Not always the next day, but I was really moved by that because in my family we're not so much that way. And I thought it kind of created a neural pathway for me to think about living that way. Fun that I talked about out in paperback now is one of our favorites, Humble Pie and Cold Turkey. It's just really fun origins of English expressions, very quick read, rapid fire, telling by Carolyn Taggart of where things came from. Like she gives life at home, food in the home. Humble Pie and Cold Turkey comes from there. She talks about there's a sports chapter, and I talked about how I bet you don't know where the phrase hands down comes from. And in here we learn that it comes from horse racing, and that is when your horse is winning by so much that you needn't even raise your hand to urge the horse on with the whip. So hands down means winning by so far, easy. This is another one. I think it's a great graduation present for wordy people. This is a Stanford professor who has a great sense of humor. And she just talks about, come on, grammandos who are really fierce on the proper way to use words. She really has a fun, wordy perspective on how we all can speak. So there's a few more that I can't tell you about, but I wanted to give you a VIP early morning walkthrough.